She fumbled to open the door with a racing pulse, and her cheeks flushed as she stared wide-eyed at the attractive biker. "Hi," she said, stumbling over the short word, the air compressed in her chest, her heart pounding to escape. "Sorry, are you closed?" The woman held Drew's gaze. The voice had a slightly husky tone to it that resonated through Drew in a flow of warmth that settled in her core, and it took a moment for the question to register. "No, it's okay, come in," Drew croaked. She held the door open with a welcoming smile, her gaze lingering on the dark green eyes that had touched her with respectful interest. The woman's smile was warm, inviting, and she seemed to respond openly and without reservation to the eye contact. She followed Drew to the counter, resting the helmet on a table as she passed. Drew felt the woman staring at her back, causing the hairs on her neck to rise in a wave of pins and needles that tingled down her spine. This was crazy. She moved behind the counter, faced the coffee machine, and tried to breathe. She watched her hands shaking, confused, as she plucked up the courage to turn and face the attractive biker. What the fuck was going on with her? The woman waited, pondering the few remaining cakes in the cabinet. As Drew turned and held the woman's gaze again, she struggled to ask her what she wanted to drink, and instead blurted, "What's a gorgeous woman like you doing in a place like this?" She felt the cringe sweep through her body. What the fuck? What possessed her to say that? It was like a bloody line out of Casablanca. Heat flushed her cheeks, and she tried to smile away her embarrassment, turning her attention to the 2 iced buns with cherries on top in the food cabinet. That didn't help. She felt her throat constrict, and the desire to bury herself beneath the counter overpowered her. And then her cheeks darkened further with the carnal images that lingered as the buns transformed in her mind's eye. The woman smiled at Drew. Drew stood, transfixed by the sparkle in the dark green almond-shaped eyes, the fine lines that graced her engaging smile. Her throat was desert dry, and all rational thought evaded her. She cleared her throat and managed to speak. "Sorry, I didn't mean to offend." Drew worked hard to maintain eye contact and continued with a more appropriate line of conversation. "Welcome to Duckton-by-Dale. I'm Drew," she stuttered. That was more like it. "What can I get you?" "Excellent. Well done, Drew. And breathe." "None taken," the woman said in an easygoing tone. She seemed to assess Drew with a quizzical gaze for a moment, before responding to the question. "Cappuccino, please," she said, and considered the cakes again, then looked up. "I'm Faith," she said. Drew swallowed as the woman looked directly at her and smiled softly. "Are you on holiday?" Drew said, and turned towards the coffee machine. The grinding noise was a welcome distraction, and she took a time to prepare the coffee, imagining Faith's eyes assessing her from behind, a shiver teasing down her back. "No," Faith said. "Shit." Drew felt the disappointment sink in her stomach and said, "Just passing through." It was a statement rather than a question, since she couldn't think of any other reason the woman would be in the middle of nowhere at 6 p.m. on a Friday evening. Surely someone this hot had better places to be. She drifted in thought, wondering how old Faith was. She looked young, vibrant, with beautifully clear eyes and a fresh, slightly tanned complexion. She pitched her at 29, secretly hoped she was closer to 35, then wondered what the hell she was doing imagining anything to do with this stranger. Sexy stranger. Worse still, a sexy stranger who was just passing by. The machine hissed, and coffee trickled into the waiting cup, and she poured milk into the jug and held it under the steamer. She hadn't been aware of the woman removing her jacket, and when she turned to face her across the counter, she literally stopped breathing.